In the late 1960s, cars were more than just machines. They were a statement of power, style, and speed. Chevrolet, one of America's biggest car makers, already had the popular Camaro on the market. It was fast, powerful, and loved by car enthusiasts. But in 1969, Chevrolet decided to go even bigger. They introduced a special version of the Camaro, the ZL1. The Camaro ZL1 wasn't like the regular models. On the outside, it looked similar to the classic Camaro, with its bold design and sharp lines. But under the hood, it was a completely different car. Chevrolet took the powerful 427 cubic inch V8 engine from the Corvette and put it into the Camaro. This made the ZL1 much stronger and faster than any Camaro before it. It wasn't just a car to drive around the neighborhood. It was built for racing. What was even more surprising was that Chevrolet didn't make many of these cars. They only produced 69 Camaro ZL1s, making it one of the rarest muscle cars ever. The reason for such a small number was simple. Chevrolet wasn't expecting to sell these cars to the public. The ZL1 was made for people who wanted to race, who loved performance above everything else. It wasn't made for the average driver. It was built for the few who wanted the best of the best. The Camaro ZL1 quickly became known as a rare gem among car lovers. Even though it wasn't widely available, people started to notice its incredible power. With 430 horsepower, the ZL1 could easily outpace many other cars on the road. It wasn't just fast, it was built to win races. Car enthusiasts saw the ZL1 as something special, something they couldn't find just anywhere. But the ZL1 wasn't just a racing car. As time passed, it became a piece of history. Because so few were made, and because of its power and performance, the Camaro ZL1 became highly valuable. Over the years, the price of these rare cars skyrocketed. What started as a special performance car for racing fans turned into a collector's dream. The Camaro ZL1 story is surprising. It was made to be a high-performance racing car, but over time, it became one of the most famous muscle cars of all time. No one could have guessed how much it would be loved and remembered. What started as a car built for a few became a legendary piece of American car culture. As the Camaro ZL1 started to make its mark on the streets and tracks, something strange began to happen. At first, the ZL1 was seen as just another racing machine, something made for serious car enthusiasts and professionals. People knew it was fast, and they knew it was rare, but there was an unexpected twist that made the Camaro ZL1 even more special than anyone had imagined. It wasn't just about racing anymore. Over time, the ZL1 began to develop a reputation far beyond its original purpose. Those who had the chance to own one began to see it not just as a car, but as a piece of history. You see, owning a ZL1 became more than just about showing off its power on the track. It became a way for car lovers to own a part of something that would never be made again. This small number of 69 cars started to take on a new meaning. They weren't just fast, they were symbols of a time when American muscle cars were at their peak, when manufacturers like Chevrolet were pushing the limits of what was possible. For the people who had the privilege of owning one, the Camaro ZL1 was something to protect and cherish. It wasn't just another car to drive, it was an experience. Those who had the chance to get behind the wheel would often speak of the raw power that surged through the car when they pressed the gas pedal. The 427 cubic inch V8 engine didn't just make noise, it roared, echoing down the street, sending a clear message that this was a machine built for nothing less than speed. It was the kind of car that made heads turn, one that demanded attention. But here's where things took a twist. As the ZL1 became more well-known, its fame spread and its value started to rise. What had once been seen as just a rare muscle car quickly transformed into a collector's dream. In fact, some owners of these rare cars realized that their ZL1s were now worth far more than they had originally paid. What had been a special edition for racing fans was now an investment. It wasn't long before people who had never even been interested in racing began to take notice. The Camaro ZL1 wasn't just for driving, it was a symbol of wealth, status, and automotive history. The car world had always been about competition and performance, but now with the ZL1, things were starting to change. People were no longer just talking about the fastest cars on the track. They were talking about the rarest ones, the ones that would go down in history as legends. The Camaro ZL1 became one of those legends. As collectors and enthusiasts got their hands on these 69 ZL1s, they started to see the value, not only in the power and the performance, but in the car's rarity and its place in automotive history. But the story doesn't end there. As the years passed, the Camaro ZL1's fame didn't fade. It grew. More and more, people started to see it as the ultimate muscle car, the one that stood above all the others. The stories of the ZL1 were shared at car shows, on forums, and in magazines. It wasn't just about the car's specs or the power it delivered, it was about the legend behind it. People loved hearing about the 69 ZL1s that had been built, and they marveled at how such a rare car could still have such an impact. And then, something unexpected happened again. As more and more ZL1s were passed from one collector to the next, the price of these cars went through the roof. A car that had once been a high-performance racing machine was now a treasure that only the wealthiest collectors could afford. It was rare, it was powerful, and it was now worth a fortune. The Camaro ZL1 had become more than just a car. It had become a symbol of status, wealth, and the golden age of American muscle cars. But as the price continued to climb, something interesting happened. The ZL1 wasn't just sitting in garages anymore. It began to reappear at car shows, vintage races, and private events. The ZL1s that had been locked away for years began to hit the road once again, and when they did, it wasn't just about the thrill of the race anymore. It was about showing off a piece of automotive history. Each time a ZL1 roared to life, it reminded everyone of an era when Chevrolet took racing seriously and built cars that were built to win. The ZL1's story, once a tale of racing dominance, had now evolved into something more. A story of legacy, rarity, and a shift in what it meant to own a piece of car history. It wasn't just about owning a rare car, it was about preserving a part of the past, a reminder of the days when muscle cars ruled the streets and tracks. The Camaro ZL1, with its limited production and incredible power, had secured its place not only in the history of Chevrolet, but in the hearts of car lovers all over the world. And even as time passed, the legend of the ZL1 only continued to grow. As the years passed, the Camaro ZL1's reputation continued to grow, and its legacy became even stronger. What had once been a rare, high-performance machine, built specifically for racing, was now considered one of the greatest muscle cars of all time. Car collectors and enthusiasts didn't just look at it as a piece of automotive history, they saw it as a work of art, a car that represented a time when performance, power, and style were the heart of American automotive culture. By the mid-1980s, the Camaro ZL1 had become a rare treasure. Its price had soared, and only a handful of the original 69 cars remained in pristine condition. Finding one on the market was like stumbling upon a hidden gem, a moment of luck for those with deep pockets and a true passion for muscle cars. The ZL1 wasn't just a car, it was a status symbol, a way for collectors to show off their devotion to the golden age of American performance cars. People who had once never thought they could own a piece of this automotive history now found themselves in possession of something that most could only dream of. However, despite its growing price tag and collector status, the ZL1 remained a car for people who understood its true value, not just in dollars, but in heart and soul. Those who had the chance to drive, one still experienced the raw, unfiltered power that had made it so special in the first place. The sound of the 427 V8 engine roaring to life was enough to send chills down the spine of anyone who appreciated a real muscle car. When the ZL1 tore down the road, it wasn't just moving, it was making history all over again. The ZL1 wasn't just an investment, it was a living, breathing symbol of a time when the streets and tracks were ruled by the strongest, most powerful cars in the world. But the story didn't end there. As more ZL1s found their way into the hands of collectors, the car became even more celebrated. It wasn't just a vehicle to be kept hidden away in a garage, it was something to be shared with the world. Over the decades, these rare machines began to show up at car shows, in private collections, and even at vintage racing events. The ZL1, now a symbol of a bygone era, was able to remind everyone of what American muscle cars had been capable of. Seeing one of these cars take the stage was a moment of nostalgia, a reminder that the power and beauty of the Camaro ZL1 would never truly fade. And then a surprising twist occurred. As more ZL1s were brought back to life, another generation of car enthusiasts began to see the Camaro ZL1 not just as a relic of the past, but as a model to aspire to. Chevrolet, recognizing the enduring legacy of the ZL1, decided to pay tribute to it in more recent models. Over the years, the Camaro would continue to evolve, but the ZL1 name was never forgotten. Chevrolet released new ZL1 versions in later decades, capturing the spirit of the original while adding modern technology and features. It was as though the ZL1 had never truly left the spotlight. It had simply adapted to the times. Yet, despite the newer ZL1 versions, nothing could quite compare to the original. There was something magical about those 69 cars. They weren't just built for racing. They were built for a moment in time when American performance cars ruled the world. The Camaro ZL1 from 1969 had not only stood the test of time, it had become a legend. It wasn't just another muscle car. It was the epitome of what muscle cars were meant to be: raw, powerful, and unforgettable. Today, the 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 remains one of the most sought-after and revered cars in automotive history. Its combination of limited production, outstanding performance, and undeniable style has made it a true icon. The ZL1's story is one of unexpected success. What started as a special edition built for racers turned into one of the most legendary muscle cars of all time. And as long as there are car enthusiasts, the ZL1's roar will continue to echo through history, reminding everyone of the day Chevrolet took muscle car performance to a whole new level. As time marched on, the 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1's legacy only deepened. With fewer and fewer original cars remaining in pristine condition, the ZL1 transformed from an obscure racing machine into a holy grail for collectors and car historians alike. Each time a ZL1 was uncovered, whether at an auction, a private sale, or a restoration shop, it sparked excitement among enthusiasts and collectors. Stories of these rare finds began to spread, and each ZL1 had its own tale to tell. Some had been lovingly restored to their original glory, while others were found in barns, covered in dust and barely running. But no matter the condition, each ZL1 had a price tag that reflected its legendary status. The rarity of the Camaro ZL1 only made it more desirable. The mere thought of owning one of the 69 cars built made hearts race. But there was something more to the ZL1 than just its rarity. For those fortunate enough to own one, the car became a lifelong obsession. It wasn't just a car to park in a garage. It was a piece of American history, a direct link to a time when muscle cars were the kings of the road. Driving a ZL1 wasn't just about feeling power. It was about feeling the pulse of an entire era. Each roar of its engine echoed the passion of the engineers who built it, the racers who drove it, and the enthusiasts who now cherished it. Yet, for all its fame and importance, the ZL1 wasn't always treated as the legendary car it would eventually become. For a long time, these rare cars were just that: old, rare cars. People drove them, raced them, and sometimes even modified them. The true value of the ZL1 wasn't fully appreciated by everyone, and many owners didn't know they were sitting on a future goldmine. It wasn't until the late 1970s and 1980s that the full impact of the ZL1 was realized. As collectors started to pay more attention to muscle cars, the ZL1 quickly became one of the most sought-after vehicles in the world. But by then, only a few were still in original condition. The rarity and the stories of the 69 ZL1s made them even more valuable, and their place in automotive history was solidified. With every passing decade, the ZL1's value increased. What had been considered just a great racing car had now become a museum piece, a symbol of a golden age that would never return. Auctions for ZL1s became legendary events, with prices reaching jaw-dropping numbers. Some cars sold for millions, leaving both collectors and spectators in awe. The Camaro ZL1 was no longer just a car. It was an investment, a way to own a piece of history. But even as the ZL1 grew in value, it remained something more. The ZL1 wasn't just about money. It was about a connection to a time when muscle cars were at their peak. For many, owning a ZL1 was a dream come true, but it was also a reminder of the passion that went into creating these cars. The engineers, designers, and racers who had helped shape the Camaro ZL1 had made something that would endure long after its time on the track. The ZL1 had transcended its original purpose as a racing car and become a legend, and its story was only beginning. As the Camaro ZL1 continued to inspire car lovers and collectors, Chevrolet recognized the power of its legacy. The ZL1 name would not be forgotten, and the spirit of the original car would live on in future models. Over the years, Chevrolet would release updated versions of the ZL1, paying homage to the past while incorporating modern technology. These newer versions of the Camaro ZL1 would continue to thrill drivers, reminding everyone of the incredible impact that the 1969 version had made. But even as the newer ZL1s roared down the road, they couldn't quite capture the magic of the original. The 1969 Camaro ZL1 remained the heart and soul of the Camaro lineup. Today, the Camaro ZL1 is remembered as one of the finest examples of American muscle. It wasn't just a fast car, it was a symbol of performance, power, and the spirit of competition. The legacy of the 1969 ZL1 lives on, not just in the collector world, but in the hearts of everyone who loves muscle cars. Its story is a testament to what happens when a car is built for one purpose, to be the best. The ZL1 was a car that defied expectations, and as time goes on, its reputation will only continue to grow. The ZL1 will forever remain one of the most iconic cars ever made, and its roar will echo in the world of American performance cars for generations to come. As the years continued to pass, the legend of the 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 grew even more powerful. What had started as a specialized racing machine built for a select few transformed into a true icon of American muscle. The stories surrounding the ZL1 began to take on a life of their own, and those 69 original cars were revered almost like sacred relics in the world of collectors. The rarity of the ZL1 only added to its allure. Every time one was found, it was like discovering a hidden treasure, a car that had survived the test of time and was now worth a small fortune. For the lucky few who owned an original ZL1, their pride in ownership went beyond the car itself. It was more than just a powerful engine or sleek design. It was a connection to a moment in history, a time when muscle cars ruled the streets and speed was the ultimate goal. For them, the ZL1 wasn't just a car, it was a story that continued to unfold. And it wasn't just about showing off the car, it was about preserving its legacy, making sure that its history was never forgotten. As more and more ZL1s changed hands at auctions and private sales, the value of these rare cars skyrocketed. They became more than just investments. They became a way for owners to tell the world that they understood the significance of what they were holding. The ZL1 had become a status symbol, a symbol of knowledge, passion, and a deep appreciation for the golden age of muscle cars. Owning a Camaro ZL1 was a declaration that you were a true car enthusiast, someone who understood the thrill of driving a machine built for pure, unadulterated performance. But as the years went by, something unexpected began to happen. The Camaro ZL1, once confined to the garages of collectors and car shows, started to reappear in new ways. More and more people were drawn to the ZL1's undeniable power and timeless design. While the original cars were now rare and expensive, the ZL1's influence could be felt in new models and designs. Chevrolet, recognizing the lasting impact of the ZL1, started to incorporate elements of the classic 1969 car into newer versions of the Camaro. These modern ZL1s paid tribute to the original, with updated performance features and cutting-edge technology. But the spirit of the 1969 ZL1 was always at the heart of every new iteration. The newer ZL1 models proved that the legacy of the 1969 version wasn't just a thing of the past, it was alive and well. These updated versions carry the same powerful engine and aggressive design, offering a glimpse into what the original Camaro ZL1 would have been if it had evolved over the decade. And while the newer models were faster and more technologically advanced, they could never replace the raw, untamed power of the original 1969 ZL1. For many, the new versions were a tribute, a way to keep the ZL1's legacy going while still staying relevant in the modern world. And then there was the growing interest from younger generation. The 1969 ZL1 had long been the realm of older collectors, those who had lived through the muscle car era and remembered the excitement of the late 60s. But as time went on, younger car enthusiasts began to appreciate the ZL1's place in automotive history. They saw it not just as a relic of the past, but as the foundation for the powerful, high-performance cars of today. The ZL1 became more than just a collector's item. It became an inspiration for a new generation of muscle car lovers. The excitement surrounding the Camaro ZL1 was palpable at car shows and vintage racing events. Enthusiasts of all ages gathered to see these rare cars up close, to hear the roar of the 427 V8 engine, and to witness firsthand the power that made the ZL1 so legendary. With every passing year, the ZL1's place in car culture became even more solidified. It wasn't just a car from a different time. It was a symbol of a time when performance was king and speed was everything. As the ZL1 continued to be cherished and celebrated, its legacy reached new heights. It wasn't just about owning a rare car. It was about honoring a piece of history that had influenced an entire era of cars. The 1969 Camaro ZL1 was a reminder of what American muscle cars stood for: raw power, bold design, and the pursuit of performance at any cost. And as long as the ZL1 remained, its legend would continue to inspire car enthusiasts, collectors, and dreamers alike. The Camaro ZL1 had earned its place as one of the most iconic and revered cars in automotive history, and its roar would continue to echo through the ages.